All right. And hello, everyone. Welcome to Art for Art's Sake from the St. Lawrence County Arts Council. This is episode 44, and we have another group of wonderful poets for you from the St. Lawrence Area Poets Group, organized by the great John Berbrich. Thank you for being here, John. Well, it's going to be a nice little trio. Unfortunately, Hillary may not be able to join us, but we're still going to read some of her poetry. This is Art for Art's Sake. We're on some weekdays nowadays, but weekdays at 4, we're showcasing the talents of local artists, or originally local artists in some cases. This is one of the more important programs that we're doing, especially during this coronavirus pandemic situation that we're dealing with, as most of our in-person programs are on hold. No, sorry, all of our in-person programs are on hold right now. So we wanted to stay connected to our community, stay connected to artists, and that's why we created this program. So if you're an artist and you want to share what you're doing now or what you've done in the recent past, we'd love to feature you. We can do all sorts of different things, and even things that you might not say, oh yes, that's definitely an art form. We'd love to see it. So spread the word, join us. If you have a friend that's an artist and you think they should get involved, you should message them and connect us. We'd love to see that. You can email me, director@slcartscouncil.org, or shoot me a message here on Facebook. As always, I want to thank our sponsors for this program in the past. If you are interested in sponsoring an upcoming program, or if you just want to support our local arts council, please go to slcartscouncil.org/give to make a donation today. It's also really helpful for us if you would join as a member. So you can join, even if you're not an artist and you just want to support the Arts Council, you can become an annual member, a supporting member for $35. Just go to slcartscouncil.org/join, and you can set up your membership to start right now. Well, without further ado, let me hand it over to John, and you can meet these wonderful poets.
Okay, I seem to have successfully unmuted myself. Okay, yeah, it's a good first step. Okay, I'm going to kick it off with a couple of poems, and then we'll see what happens, okay? Hillary's not here. She might be here later. If she's not here, I'll tell you about it later on, okay? Let's kick it off with the Zen seminar, okay? 7:30, said the sign. Room 201. Learn to contemplate emptiness. 7:10. The first to arrive, I sit in an empty chair and look around. 7:30, no one has shown up. I stare at the blank walls. 7:55, I'm still alone. Not even the instructor has dropped by. I sit, contemplating the empty room. It's my first lesson in contemplating emptiness. Okay, this one's called You. And I'm sure everybody knows someone that they could address this to. You, okay? It's you. It's not about you. It's in your hands, okay? Or in your ear, traveling along neurons, carrying a message. But the message is not for you, no. You think every second person pronoun is directed your way, the only way, right? But you protest if the poem begins to run up a fantastic circular staircase, slide down a snowy hill, or wake up in an unfamiliar bed, that you'll be right there. But here, watch me smile sadly, shaking my head. It's your big ego, that swollen megalomania, the you-centric universe. Can't you see that this doesn't concern you, that you're out of the picture? Or on the periphery, looking in, trying vainly to get in this photograph? Can't you see that this time the door's closed and you're on the outside? Can't you see it? Try thinking about somebody else for a change. Okay, so everybody, like I'm saying, everybody can have direct that towards somebody that you know or used to know. Okay, I'm not sure what's going to be happening here, so why don't I pass this along to Erica, okay, and she can, and I'll mute myself.
Thank you, John. So I'm Erica Kelso. I grew up in the North Country. I left and came back, and I think that we have something like really special about our community that all the areas I've ever visited or lived in does not have. And I think the appreciation of the arts is one of them. So I'm really happy to be here today. So the first set of poems I'm going to share kind of all have like this tree theme. It's kind of something I need to get away from, but I love them so much. So I thought I would share them first. The first one is called This Is Not a Metaphor. This is not a metaphor made when the leaves change their color to red, the calm that people feel from the change in seasons. It is the knot in your sternum when colors pop up on the side of the road, knowing more time is passing than you can allow. Because you keep making to-do lists, but they aren't getting finished, and more days pass and the paperwork piles up, and you don't know how to tell someone, anyone, you need help because it's too much. But you stopped paying attention, and all your good friends escaped to better places where the leaves are green all year round, and you stop trying to find metaphors. This next one is called Rooted. Rooted. He did the opposite of tying my heart to the ground. He cut the ribbons so that my helium heart could rise above the clouds, soar throughout the mountaintops, lose myself amongst the tips of the pines. But when I let go, I thought he'd follow. When I let go, I thought he'd be my wind. Instead, he tethered himself to where we met, to the roots of the place something began. And then this one is called The Last Tree Poem I Will Write About You, and it's not the last tree poem I've ever written, just so you know. The last tree poem I will write about you. Do the trees sing to the moon in the same way they lead choirs for the sun? Do the leaves gasp in night air so that they don't feel as if their lives might end? I know they weep when you ravage their hearts and souls. They weep as they die and their last leaf falls softly to the ground. Then what is the use of a tree ridden with fungi and insects? What is the use of something no longer alive from the inside out, but to be trampled and forgotten? So I guess I'll pass it back to John.
Okay, thank you, Erica. And by the way, folks at home, if you have a question or a comment or something, I think you can type it into Maggie and she'll pass it along to us. Okay, so all right. Okay, the third member of our trio here is Hillary Vaillancourt. And okay, her son, she has a son who's like 3 years old, and he got bitten by a tick, and he's had a fever, like a mild fever. So she's taking him to the clinic. So right now she's in the clinic in Canton, okay, with her son. She's going to try to join us and, you know, do the poems over her phone. But if she can't do it, she emailed me the poem, so I'm going to do it, okay? Some of these are mom poems, so I'll do my best. Okay, so this is, she's also sent me an introduction, so I'll just read it for her, okay? Hillary is an attorney in her own practice, Hillary Vaillancourt, the Vaillancourt law firm focusing on estate planning, business law, and nonprofit law. She is originally from Virginia and now lives in Canton with her husband, their toddler son, and their baby girl is due in a few weeks. She wanted to start by sharing poems that shaped her as a writer. This poem is from a child's book of poetry. The author was a local poet in Connecticut, where she lived at the time. She loved the book so much that she literally wore the spine out. It was the first time she really learned about poetry and just loved the way the author told stories in rhyme. Even now, she takes the book out sometimes and to read it just for fun. The poem is There Once Was a Monster Named Clark. Is by Guy Gilchrist. Oh, it's a limerick. Okay. There once was a monster named Clark who scared me each day at the park. The park was all right. I could play there all night because Clark was afraid of the dark. That's really cute. I haven't read these yet, so that I like that one. Okay. And then Hillary says later on, she somehow discovered the romantic poets like Longfellow. Absolutely loved the messages behind the poems in a clever way. The themes like innocence and experience were juxtaposed. Okay, here's a poem, A Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still, like muffled drums, are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. But nice, huh? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. All right. One of the great 19th century American poets. Okay. Very good. Okay. So I'm going to hand this over to myself. Okay. I'll do some of mine. Hillary did write some of her own, though. Those are later on. So this one's, I guess it's a metaphor. I don't know. We wait all year for this, and now it's here. Parades, brass bands, fireworks, glorious snowstorms, gifts, smiles, big dinners, cakes, candles, songs, a case of wine, a tumbler of schnapps, a keg of imported beer. Oh, look at the children laughing, trembling with excitement. Dogs wag tails nonstop. The Super Bowl is on TV. Switch the channel. There's the World Cup, the World Series, Wimbledon, the Masters. I can hardly stand it. Cherry bombs explode across the street. A band marches through our backyard. I'm opening another present, sucking on a bottle of gin, working on my taxes while mailing a love letter to the IRS. Today, the whole world is a stadium, a cathedral, a back alley, a street corner where you can get anything that you want. Here come the fire trucks, sirens blaring, racing down Main Street, hosing down everyone. Water sprays and sparkles in the sunshine, turns to ice and glitters. Smile, weep, laugh, pray. It's finally here. I don't know what, but it's here. Okay, and here's another one. This is really kind of personal. I don't do a lot of personal ones. This one's really personal. It's called To My Inner Monster. Hello, little guy. Haven't seen you in a while. You used to come out when the moon was high, or when summoned by a bottle of Southern Comfort, or when my deep down voices got out of control and the deadly daily humdrum, the mundane, the quotidian seemed close to gaining the upper hand. It was then you'd struggle to escape, to claw your way to the surface, to breathe fresh air, look around with the wild light in your eyes. It's been a long time, but I can feel you in there somewhere. Your bones must be so stiff, your muscles weak with disuse, your eyes dull. Come up here where I can see you, little monster. We can tell each other bold stories of the past. Remember the good times and the aftermath, sleeping in parked cars, on the beach, in an abandoned building, lurching, staggering, striding, crawling, searching on our hands and knees for something. Hey, you're big. You've been growing, I see. Swollen, ready for action. Let's go on a midnight creep. Look together through my wild eyes. And that's personal. Yeah. Okay. So let's pass it along. Maggie, do we have any comments from the, okay. Is anybody there? Okay. So let's pass it along to Erica.
Okay, so the next one I have is called Nothing is Real, So. Nothing is real, so. The sky was green, the grass was blue, the sun was black, life was askew. We decided to fill a kiddie pool with Cheese Whiz, and we were going to eat crackers. Instead, we dipped our toes and remarked on how therapeutic it was. I told you how nothing felt right anymore. I told you how I wanted to die. I told you how I cried myself to sleep at night. I told you all I wanted was to be understood. You listened. We laughed as we laid in the grass and the clouds took over the world while we are waiting for it all to end. This one is called Superstitions. I used to hold my breath when my mother drove past graveyards, and I'd lift my feet up driving across train tracks. But I never carried a rabbit's foot, and I've never even held a horseshoe. And I don't believe some spirits could ever take over my soul. But I held my breath when I saw you walk past me, and my heart rose into my throat. Driving my mind to unthinkable places, I'll carry pieces of you, parts you shouldn't have shared. And I don't think I believe some spirits could ever take over my soul. So this next one I have is, I just started it this past weekend. So I'm currently training to be a yoga teacher with Flying Lotus in Canton. And part of our training is about bringing diversity. Obviously, like the stereotypical view of yoga is white women. So we wrote a poem this weekend. It was from a form from a book called Skill in Action, Radicalizing Your Yoga Practice to Create a Just World. But the template was inspired by a poem called Where I'm From by George Ella Lyon. So once like this posts, I'll put both the template and the George Ella Lyon poem in the comments for other people. So this is my Where I'm From. Where I'm from. I am from homemade hand-me-down jumpers, from Newports and Suave. I am from the plywood in the front door window, primed, shardless, unbreakable by mere fists. I am from the black-eyed Susans you planted in the garden you no longer tend, that you love when you drive by on back roads but never stop to smell or pick. I am from Trinka and Joyce, from sprinkle sandwiches and thick thighs. I am from being too quick to anger and only needing one punch. From if you keep crying like that, I'm going to smash your head off the wall and you must be the adopted one. I am from red rosary beads long ago abandoned. I am from the divided banks of the St. Lawrence River, the choice between Oli Bolin or pan-fried bread. I stand on two sides of a bridge, staring at each self, waiting for it to cave in. And somewhere in the attic, there are pieces of time tucked away for another family to find, because I am from moments broken in fights I will never win. So before I pass it back to John, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I haven't shared like reading my own poetry in quite some time. I've worked a lot on it and with students. So it was really nice to like feel that like butterflies in my stomach again and like feeling like I'm getting out there reading. And so it was really good for me mentally and emotionally. So I really appreciate that.
So Erica, don't go away. We might need you again, okay? Okay, so let's see. I'm going to read some of Hillary's, okay? She's saying here that the following poems were written for various reasons. She likes to write similar to the Romantic poets where there can be many meanings behind the words. And she would leave the original meaning up to the reader, okay? So your own interpretation. It's called Mother by Hilary Vaillancourt. Poem. I like to think of Mary, Mother of God, changing diapers, counting his 10 little fingers and 10 little toes, recounting his first words, his first steps, his first solid food, bathing him, rocking him when he couldn't sleep, cleaning his skinned knees, wiping his runny nose, singing to him when he cried, teaching him his letters and his numbers and to share, because he was of this earth, born of a virgin, and she was his mother. And, oh, okay. This is also by Hillary. This is called My God. My God does not sit on a puffy cloud, pure, white, plucking dainty harp string. My God stands on a street corner, dirty, sweaty, wailing on a brassy saxophone. That's a lot like one that I wrote called My God. I don't have it with me though. They would go good together. And here's one called by Hillary called Cloud Gardener. When she breathed her last breath, a cloud bloomed from her blue lips, then another and another, until the sky was alive, a full, lifelike cloud forest. Sometimes when I'm lonely, I lay on a hillside, watching and pruning the clouds and talking to her. And here's one called The Caterpillar, also by Hillary. The caterpillar, sluggish and slug-like, never doubts she will fly. And so I remind myself I too can build new wings and soar. Okay, so, oh wow. Erica, you did one Rooted, right? She's got one called Rooted. Yeah, Rooted by Hillary Vaillancourt. I sink my feet into moist dirt, earth tender from thawing spring. I pretend my toes are roots. I wiggle them, willing them to sink deeper. A robin tilts her head, watching me with knowing curiosity. I am no tree. I am meant to fly. That's pretty good. All right, there's a couple more here. But I want to do one of mine. Erica, do you have more?
I can have more easily. Oh,
Okay.
Fun, so.
Okay, I've got one more of mine. It's called Summer Quartet. Basically, it's 4 poems, but they're all kind of mashed together. They all go together. So I'm going to just do all 4 of them together. And they seem to really work for this time period in history. Nothing profound in the crash and boom of the thunderstorm. No wisdom in the hiss of wheels spinning over the wet road. No God peering through a crack in the clouds. Just over the heads of the pine trees, the sun rises like an orange burning eye. Watching the news, Greenland's heat wave has broken, thank goodness. More nuclear meltdowns in Mongolia, landslides outside Paris. I had a dream in which I was living in a huge rectilinear structure built of sandpaper, heavy gauge, not exactly comfortable, but one could achieve a firm foothold. Gardens dried up, like a popped balloon, shrunken and lifeless. Big black birds fight over a carcass. We used to call them crows before they began to mutate. It's a heat wave, they call it on the radio. Although July and August are always hot, that's nothing new. Strap on your breathing filters, your eye protectors, smear on your skin oil, and you're all set for a day outside, a trip to the mechanical zoo. Those new metal monkeys screech better than the old ones, and I've heard actual recordings. The end is in sight on the new 3D TV. The newscaster with the fancy wardrobe, all wires and buckles and straps, chats with the traditional newscaster. His high collar, rigid hair, and so uptight. They're building the seawall around Manhattan higher, gas rationing up to 1 gallon per week in most sectors, A welcome lull in earthquake activity. Opportunity to clean up in China and California after last week. Scientists prove the Bible is real. Milwaukee death camps finally closed down by the government. Temperature should drop to 120 by next week. That's right, Chad, says the stylish newscaster to her uptight colleague. It sure looks like the end is in sight. Okay, so Erica, why don't you help us out here?
Okay. So this one is called Why to Fight. Why to fight? Place your hand upon my womb, and I'll watch the stars melt down your face. Dripping, let them land among the branches. Your tender eyes were shining like the morning dew. When I felt them upon me, I chose you. But the gods punished us, they took her away, and our fingertips could barely reach that world where we belonged. Fighting to share the moon, we should have held in our arms. And then I have one more, it's called Cedar Door. Pound your fist against the cedar door that encloses your love tight. The door that prevents your heart and hands from encompassing hearts and hands of others. Scream your voice louder behind the lock of self-torture, of self-loathing, the cycle you've entered of trying and trying and trying and trying and being crushed by the cedar door you slammed and locked and lost the key to. You even claw your nails and cry your tears to reach out, though it is useless. So thank you.
Thank you. And okay, let me read a couple. I do have a couple more from Hillary. This one, I got a couple. It's short. This one's called Light. Hidden beneath her cloak was a mason jar filled with forest moss, acorns, pine cones, cranberries from an autumn bog. But what she really wanted was to capture the moon so she would never forget how the light was the other half of dark. Okay, and this one's called Wild. She dances among the pines as if her innocence is evergreen, stepping with bare feet on beds of soft needles, her soul's sticky with sweet woodsy sap. Stay in the forest, child. It's a wild world outside. And it is a wild world outside. So I'm done. I hope Hillary's doing okay at the clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. Sending her and her family
Yeah, I know.
all her best wishes, all the health in the world, poor things. And also, you said she's having a baby soon, so
Next month, yeah.
congratulations. Good luck with everything. Erica, it was really nice to meet you. John, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your talents with us. We'll have another poetry reading next month or maybe earlier. We'll see what happens. This has been episode 44 of Art for Art's Sake from the St. Lawrence County Arts Council. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And thanks for everybody who's been watching. I hope you all have a great day and a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.
And thank you, Maggie, for putting all this together.
Hey, thanks. I'm really excited to have some new staff and a new intern who are going to help me starting next week. So I will introduce you to these wonderful people very, very soon.
So things are just moving forward.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep moving. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.